Page 20. 7. Mufti turned down request that Haifa be declared an open city. On April 22, the city of Haifa was captured by the Haganah and the Arabs sued for peace. That same afternoon, the representative of Syria, Faris El-Khoury, complained to the Political Committee of the General Assembly of the United Nations at Lake Success concerning what he called the massacre of Arabs. But the fact is that it was the Mufti, chairman of the Arab Higher Committee, who prevented Haifa from being declared an open city. And it is the British intelligence in Palestine which is the authority for that statement. Nor did the British make any attempt to assure this, even though as far back as December, Creech Jones in the House of Commons anticipated disturbances in that city. In its fortnightly newsletter number 61, dated February 13, 1948, the British intelligence reported the Arab effort to make Haifa an open city. Toward the end of January, a delegation representing all classes of Arabs from Haifa, headed by Archbishop Hakim, visited the Mufti in Cairo with the intention, it was rumored, of obtaining support for a plan to declare Haifa an open city. It was unsuccessful. However, it is learned that all sections of the Arab community have been placed under the command of the Haifa Arab National Committee, who feel that it is in their own interest to maintain peace in the city for as long as possible. This, and the fact that the moneyed Jewish community in Haifa wishes for peace, provide some grounds for the hope that order may be maintained there for some time. Both communities are well armed and tension of course exists. The situation depends entirely upon the control the leaders of both factions are able to maintain over their more irresponsible followers. On April 24, Sir Alexander Cadogan told the Security Council that the Syrian charges were without justification, and that in fact only about 100 Arabs had been killed. From Jerusalem, Sir Alan Cunningham, British High Commissioner, informed the British Foreign Office that the attacks had been started by the Arabs and that the charges of massacre were untrue. The exoneration of the Haganah by the British represented the first such action in recent disturbances in Palestine. The fact is that Haifa had been one of the areas in Palestine where the most friendly relations existed between Jews and Arabs, not only during the recent conflict, but as a matter of record even during the 1936 to 1939 disturbances. The most recent disturbances in Haifa are due to the incursion of foreign Arabs. These foreign Arabs conducted a continuous warfare, attacking the Jewish residential area and Jewish traffic, inviting Jewish retaliation. As a result of this situation, during March and April thousands of Arabs left the city, some returning to their families in the villages, and the richer Arabs going to Lebanon and Egypt. It is a matter of record that Jews and Arabs have been working together, in the oil refineries and in all municipal and governmental departments. Arab and Jewish councilmen, cooperating with the Jewish mayor, ran the administration of the city harmoniously. When, soon after the November 29 resolution, shooting was started by irresponsible Arab youths, inspired by the Mufti's agents, and the Haganah retaliated, a truce was arranged under which Arabs and Jews both agreed to restrain violence and to inform each other if outside extremists attempted to attack. This truce was signed by the big political boss of Haifa, Rashid Haj Ibrahim, a member of the Arab Higher Committee, but not a member of the Mufti's party. This truce lasted for weeks but was violated by Iraqi volunteers, who entered the city and attacked the Jewish area. Jewish authorities were notified in advance of the planned incursion by the Arab National Committee of Haifa. On one occasion, when the British police arrested a Jewish youth and later released him in the center of the Arab quarter, thus exposing him. Page 21. To possible assassination, he was rescued by the Arab National Guard and returned to the Jews unharmed. The truce, despite sporadic incidents in which Jews and Arabs were killed, continued up until the middle of April, when Arab invaders from abroad renewed their attacks on the Jewish quarter. The Haganah then returned the attack in order to prevent the city from being taken over by the Arab Liberation Army. The commander of the Haifa Legion, until he was killed, actually was a lieutenant in the Transjordan Arab Legion, and his identity card is produced elsewhere in this document. On March 9, 1948, an advertisement by him appeared in Al-Urduni Aman Daily. The advertisement declared, Muhammad Bey el-Hamad, commander of the Haifa region, announces that he is prepared to accept volunteers of all ranks who have previously served in the Arab Legion or the Transjordan Frontier Force. The registration of such volunteers will take place in Haifa. The presence of Germans and Nazis in the Arab ranks in Haifa was revealed by the Haganah in the truce terms which it laid down. These truce terms asked for the deportation of all foreign Arab fighters from Haifa and the handing over to the British military authorities of all Germans and Nazis in Arab ranks. 5 Nazis were handed over. The safety of all citizens was guaranteed by the Haganah, which asked for the laying down of arms and the surrender of them to the Jews, as well as a 24-hour curfew in order to arrange for the disarming. The presence in Haifa of well-armed foreign invaders as far back as March 5 was verified in Intelligence Summary No. 68 of the 6th Airborne Division. Reporting on the Haifa area, it said, Haifa area. At a recent meeting of Arab commanders in the Haifa area, it was decided that a request be sent to Syria for the assistance of a further 100 trained street fighters to assist in attacks planned against the Jews. Pending the arrival of these men, Mohammed Bey el-Hamd, the Arab commander in Haifa, ordered that bomb attacks against the Jews were to be postponed for the time being, as he considered that such attacks would only provoke reprisals, which the Arabs are not yet in a position to counter effectively. He, however, gave instructions for squads of 9 men from the Munazamat Fidayah Arab Commando Organization to be formed to carry out attacks against Jewish traffic on the roads leading out of Haifa. 3 taxis are reported to have been allocated for this purpose. The commandos are said to be armed with Stens, TMGs, and grenades. Further supplies of arms and ammunition are known to be arriving in Haifa to replace those confiscated by the army during searches in town. On February 22, 7 Bren guns together with 5,000 rounds of ammunition are reported to have arrived in Haifa from Damascus, and the following day 15 boxes of grenades and 3 machine guns were brought to Haifa by a Druze from Syria. Considerable quantities of explosives and Molotov cocktails are said to have recently arrived, together with 5 bomb experts from Syria. These bomb experts are stated to have already prepared 3 bombs of considerable size for use against Jewish targets. Several local Arabs have been attached to this group for instruction in the manufacture of bombs. A further report indicates that 25 Yugoslavian bomb experts are en route to Haifa from Damascus to assist in the preparation of bombs to be used in attacks on Jewish quarters in the town. Page 22, 8. Arab governments behind invasion of Palestine. On February 16, in its first report on security to the Security Council, the Palestine Commission stated, A. The security situation in Palestine continues to be aggravated, not only in the areas of the proposed Jewish and Arab states, but also in the city of Jerusalem, even in the presence of British troops. C. Powerful Arab interests, both inside and outside Palestine, are defying the resolution of the General Assembly and are engaged in a deliberate effort to alter by force the settlement envisaged therein. If the activity of the Arab League, comprising the states of Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and Transjordan, all members of the United Nations except Transjordan, were not sufficient evidence that the Arab states, as such, are in revolt against the November 29 decision of the General Assembly, British intelligence reports offer proof of the support by Arab governments of the armed invasion of Palestine by the so-called Arab Army of Liberation. Thus, the weekly intelligence report number 45, issued on January 16, 1948 by the Headquarters British Forces in the Middle East, MELF, reported, the training of volunteers in Syria is with government help and the contribution of materials by the Lebanese government. This report says, Syria. The Palestine Liberation Army is reported to be organized in 4 divisions, though as yet little is known of these beyond their names, which are the Qayadat el-Yarmouk, or Holy Battle Brigade, Haj Amin, named after the Mufti, Fawzi Kawukji, and Palestine Federation. The training center at Katana outside Damascus is working to capacity, and there is good reason to suppose that training is going on in other parts of the country as well, assisted by the Syrian army. Volunteers from universities and schools, probably numbering some 5,000 in all, are being trained in elementary military subjects, though their supplies of arms and equipment are at present very limited. For the regular forces, the government passed, in December, a conscription law, whereby all men over the age of 19 must do up to 2 years military service, followed by 18 years on the reserve. Exemption from this service is said to cost £1,000, but it is not known how many have as yet taken advantage of the concession. F. Lebanon. The Lebanese contribution to the Palestine war effort will, it appears, be confined to the provision of materials rather than men. Owing to the pro-Jewish attitude of the Lebanese Christians, who form a considerable proportion of the population, no training will take place in the country, but the best of those who wish to volunteer will be selected and sent to the Syrian centers. The government has ordered the C&C of the army to purchase a quantity of small arms and ammunition, tenders for which have been invited from both Czechoslovakian and Belgian companies, as was done in Syria a month ago. The press of the Arab countries has revealed that the recruiting regulations for the so-called Arab volunteers were issued by the Syrian Minister of Defense, that the Syrian Prime Minister himself supervised the training of troops for war in Palestine at the Katana barracks in Syria, that the President of the Syrian Republic presided over the meeting on February 5 at his official residence where the commanders were appointed of the Arab forces of invasion. There is ample evidence, further, that the Egyptian government has made financial allocations for operations in Palestine, that it has allotted military barracks at Hilmiya and Helwan for the training of troops, and that the Lebanese Prime Minister announced on February, page 23, Ruri 25, his government's intention to supply Palestine with arms, money, and men. On February 13, 1948, the fortnightly intelligence newsletter number 61, issued by Headquarters, British troops in Palestine, reported on the visit of the Mufti, who is chairman of the Arab Higher Committee, with the President of Syria, and on his meetings with the Military Committee of the Arab League. The report detailed the decisions reached with respect to the military campaign in Palestine as follows. Haj Amin el-Husseini visited Damascus at the beginning of February and had talks with President Quwatli. On 4 to 6 February he attended meetings of the Arab League Military Committee there, presided over by Taha el-Husseini with Subhi el-Hadra present. Further, in the military organization of Palestine, it was decided to divide the country into 4 major fighting zones. The Mufti proposed that each zone should have 2 commanders of equal status, one nominated by the Arab Higher Executive, and the other by the Arab League Military Committee. Taha el-Husseini, however, insisted on a single commander for each zone, and finally it was agreed that under General Ismail Safwat as commander-in-chief, Abdulkader el-Husseini should command the Jerusalem zone, Hassan Salami the Jaffa-Jerusalem road areas, Fossi Kawujki the Nablus-Tulkarm area, and that the southern sector should be operated under Egypt. A delegate of the Arab Higher Executive is to be attached to each commander. The Mufti returned to Cairo in time for the 10-day Arab League Council meeting there on February 7th. How the Arab governments have gotten around the use of army regulars is further revealed in the fortnightly intelligence newsletter number 62, Headquarters Palestine, dated February 27, 1948. 20. In Jaffa, Colonel Abdul Wahab Bey arrived with 100 Iraqis who are said to be regular soldiers, temporarily retired for the Palestine venture. The colonel was formerly in an Iraq tank regiment and took part in the Golden Square Rebellion during the war, as a result of which he spent 3 years in prison. He speaks English fluently, is displaying a pro-British attitude and discourages any action that would bring the Arabs into conflict with the security forces. His presence has had a decidedly pacifying effect on the local population, similar to that in the forces in Samaria. Naturally enough, the ex-gang leaders of the 1936 Arab Revolt accept his presence and what amounts to military governorship with considerable reluctance. Sheikh Hassan Salameh still remains in charge of the guerrillas in the area. Thus, British intelligence challenges the claim on March 16, 1948 of Faris el-Khoury, Syrian delegate in the Security Council of the UN, that the Arab states, including Syria, have not interfered by taking part in these encounters. Arab League controls policy on Palestine. The extent to which the views of the Arab League are decisive in shaping policy on Palestine is also revealed by British intelligence, which on February 13 revealed that the League on February 7, 1948 had shelved the idea of establishing an Arab government for Palestine. On February 13, the fortnightly intelligence newsletter number 61, Headquarters Palestine reported, the question of the formation of an Arab government for Palestine, which was brought forward by Hamdi el-Pachachi of Iraq and Jamal Mardan Bey of Syria has, for the present, been shelved. The League is concentrating on a military program and the plan for the anti-Jewish activity, which is to be put into force during the remaining months of the British rule. General Ismail Safat produced a report of military operation in Palestine since November 29, in which the suggestion of opening a second front from the Sinai Desert, with the object of compelling Haganah to split its forces, was proposed. On March 5, 1948, the 6th Airborne Division's Intelligence Summary No. 68 reported further concerning a decision of the Arab League to set up an Arab administration for Palestine, headed by a council consisting of the Mufti, Azam Pasha, Secretary of the Arab League, and Taha Pasha el-Hashimi. But, says the report, owing to the Mufti's continued stubbornness there now appears to be considerable doubt among his followers as to whether he will be able to exercise his desired control of internal affairs through this council. In last month's meeting of the Arab League's Technical Committee, it was made clear to him that he would be able to maintain his leadership only by page 24. Sincere collaboration with the League. In this hardened attitude, Shukri Kawati is said to be the main influence, but nevertheless the Mufti's single-minded policy continues, as does his decline in popularity. Arab invaders dominate Arab military scene. The Arab League's domination of the political scene in Palestine is matched by the domination of the military scene in Arab Palestine, of the Arab League's invaders over the local Arabs. Describing this situation, Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter No. 61, Headquarters Palestine stated on February 13, the Arab invaders in northern Palestine are comparatively well disciplined, and at least in the Nablus-Jenin-Tulkarm triangle, appeared to exert a considerable stabilizing influence. The position in the Jerusalem and Jaffa areas, however, is different, because here the Husseinis' influence is predominant and their representatives such as Abdul Qadir Husseini and Hassan Salami are low-grade thugs with no interest in the maintenance of peace. Mufti eclipsed, says British intelligence. In the same report, the intelligence says, in the Samaria district there is an almost complete eclipse of the Husseini faction, occasioned by the arrival of the vanguard of the Palestine Liberation Army. This force, now some 3,000 strong, is distributed among the villages there, and spends its time reconnoitering the area, collecting intelligence and exercising strict military control over the local people. According to reports, in the near future, all Palestinians will be required to register their firearms with the local Liberation Army leader, and will not be allowed to carry them without his permission. As a result of this strong control, public opinion has turned against the Husseini faction generally, and in particular against Abdul Qadir Husseini, who is openly ridiculed in coffee houses and referred to as Corporal Qadir. Public sentiment favors King Abdullah and Fawzi Kawukji as political and military leaders, respectively. Slanderous stories of the Husseinis' past activities are circulated, while anecdotes and legends lauding the Hashemite dynasty are current topics of conversation. A supplementary report, Fortnightly Newsletter No. 62, Headquarters Palestine on February 27, 1948, reveals 18. It has been reported that arms collecting and training is being carried out in the Western Desert. Hammam, Mersa Matruh, and Solam appear to be the main collecting centers, and troubled sheiks from the neighboring districts have asked their followers to hand in their rifles for the Palestinian volunteers. In Mersa Matruh, 500 Libyan volunteers are stated to be training under a Sudanese officer, and 200 more recruits are expected from the Solam area. And on March 12, 1948, the Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter No. 63 reported that 7. The Arab League's Palestine Committee held a brief meeting in Damascus on March 4 to discuss the Palestine military situation. It is generally believed that, as a result of this meeting, the military situation will enter a new stage during the forthcoming weeks, and this will be in the form of increased large-scale operations. In addition, the committee discussed the first aid arrangements for Arab wounded, the construction of field hospitals on the Palestine-Syrian frontiers, and future administrative arrangements for Palestine. After this first session, it was decided to postpone the meeting of the committee indefinitely. Oil leases not involved. The Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter No. 63, Headquarters Palestine dated March 12, 1948 further revealed that the Arab governments have decided that while the present oil concessions in the Middle East should not be affected, no new pipeline concessions should be granted until the U.S. recognize Arab rights in Palestine. King Ibn Saud, who had recently displeased members of the Arab governments by his policy of protecting U.S. oil interests in his country, despite America's unpopularity over the Palestine question, is to be visited in the near future by Jamil Mardam Bey, the Syrian premier, who it is believed will try to persuade him to fall in line with a unified Arab policy regarding oil. Page 25. Official correspondence proving danger to Jerusalem water supply. Government of Palestine. Ref. Number 8 of 35. District Commissioner's Office. Jerusalem, January 19, 1948. His Worship, the Chairman, Municipal Commission. Sir, I have the honor to refer to your letter number A/13/85, dated the January 2, 1948, on the subject of the security of the Jerusalem water supply. 2. It has been agreed that the security forces are prepared to take action as follows. A. Protection will be given to repair gangs if the security authorities consider such protection necessary. B. Military transport will be made available at short notice, should it be necessary for the city engineer or the water manager to visit the scene of an incident quickly. C. Action has already been taken to provide guards at the Saris and Bab el Wad pumping stations. I have the honor to be, sir, your obedient servant, SGD H. Hawker, for District Commissioner. Copy to Brigadier 2nd Infantry Brigade. Reference his letter 131/Go of April 1, 48. Superintendent of Police. Reference my letter number 8/35 of May 1, 48. Page 26. Headquarters, the Palestine Police Force, Jerusalem, number K.6/141, January 24, 1948. Chairman, Municipal Commission, Municipal Corporation of Jerusalem. Sir, I refer to your letter dated January 14th and am directed to inform you that the actual details of arrangements for the guarding of Ras El Ain Jerusalem water supply are decided upon by the local security committee, of which the district commissioner, military commander, and the superintendent of police of the district concerned are members. I have the honor to be, sir, your obedient servant, SGD H. V. Shaw, for Inspector General, Municipal Corporation of Jerusalem, January 31, 1948. My dear Graves, Jerusalem water supply, operation after May 1948. I fear that there will be serious dangers of interruption in the pumping of water from Ras El Ain to Jerusalem when the British administration is withdrawn, either from sabotage of the pipelines or the electricity supply, PC mains, or possibly from attacks of pumping stations. I think that this danger would be minimized by discussing it with the leaders of the Arab and the Jewish sections of the community in Jerusalem now, and trying to persuade them to bring the greatest influence which they can bear on their peoples to maintain the security of the Jerusalem water supply in the difficult time that lies ahead. The Director of Public Works has suggested that it might be possible to form a water board for this purpose, comprising equal numbers of the leaders of the Arab and Jewish communities, under the chairmanship of a member of the Consular Corps. If the two communities were to agree to this proposal, it might be possible to hand over the entire working of the Jerusalem water supply to such a water board, as the best means of preserving the inviolability of this service, on which so many people of all races will depend. I suggest, if you see no objection, that this matter should be discussed by the Commission. Yours sincerely, SGD F. B. Crook, Member, Jerusalem Municipal Commission. R. M. Graves Esq, Chairman, Jerusalem Municipal Commission. Page 27. District Commissioner's Offices, Lydda District, Jaffa, 31st January, 1948. Number S/5/47. Secret. District Commissioner, Jerusalem District. Protection of Staff, Jerusalem Water Supply. Director of Public Works, letter number 7/31/2/I of February 8, 1947. In March 1947, the Lydda District Security Committee decided to accept the commitment of guarding British civilians working on water supply plants at Ras El Ain and Lat Run. These stations were placed under military guards and have continued to be protected even though the first British plant erector did not arrive until December 1947. 2. There is now no necessity for a guard of British security forces, insofar as the protection of the water installations from sabotage and of British personnel from attack by Jewish terrorists are concerned. The function that the Army is now serving is to protect Jewish technical staff from attack by their Arab colleagues. The military guard units concerned are now required for active operational duties in the Yafa Tel Aviv area, and I shall be grateful if you will approach the Jerusalem municipality to see whether the Jewish and Arab staffs may be reallocated so that British forces may be released. It would of course continue to be possible at intervals to provide an escort for Jewish engineers on inspection if Arab engineers cannot be employed for these duties. SGD W. V. Fuller, District Commissioner, Lydda District, page 28, Government of Palestine, District Commissioner's Office, Jerusalem District, Jerusalem, reference JDS/1/212, urgent, February 4, 1948. Sir, I have the honor to transmit a copy of a letter which has been received from the District Commissioner, Lydda, on the subject of the Jerusalem water supply. I should be grateful for any observations which you may have to make on this. I have the honor to be your worship's obedient servant, SGD H. Hocker, for District Commissioner. His Worship, the Chairman, Municipal Commission, page 29, JWS 1/7/4, urgent, February 11, 1948. Sir, I have the honor to refer to your letter number JDS/1/212 of February 4, 1948, and to make the following observations on the copy of a letter from the Lydda District Commissioner enclosed therein. In March 1947, a small detachment of troops assisted in the installation of water softening plant at Ras El Ain and was stationed there, but not for the express purpose of guard duties. This detachment was withdrawn during the summer of 1947. 2. Towards the end of December, Ras El Ain pumping station was put under guard of British troops. Latroun pumping station has never, in recent years, been under guard of British troops. It was formerly policed by Arab TACS, who have recently been replaced by regular Arab police. The Arab staff at Latroun are most dissatisfied with the present security arrangements, and I anticipate that they may walk out at any time if British forces are not provided in the near future. I have already informed Mr. Turner, DSP, Jerusalem District Police of this matter on February 3, 1948, and Mr. Hilton on February 4, 1948. I learned today that the British forces have not, as yet, been provided. 3. With regard to Ras El Ain Station, the staff of which consists of 9 Jews, 30 Arabs and 2 British, I Carnot consider the continued presence of British guards as other than essential. Ras El Ain is in a predominantly Jewish area, and the withdrawal of security forces would undoubtedly lead to the Arab members of the staff there leaving immediately. I cannot agree that the risk of sabotage or attack on British staff by Jewish terrorists is non-existent, or that the function the army is now serving is to protect Jewish technical staff from attack by their Arab colleagues. 4. Of the 9 Jewish staff at present stationed at Ras El Ain, 1 previously served at Saris and 2 at Latroun, and I am unable to understand what manner of reallocation the Lydda District Commissioner has in mind. 5. With the above considerations in mind, I strongly urge that the Army Guard at Ras El Ain be retained and that a similar guard be provided at Latroun at the earliest possible date. I have the honor to be, Sir, your obedient servant, R. M. Graves, Chairman, Municipal Commission, District Commissioner, Jerusalem District, Jerusalem,